Not Cut Out for Heroics, a Boku no Hero fanfiction written by Ended Flames on AO3. Read by Cole. Chapter 46. It's done. As promised, Izuku got home after his detention to a flood of DMs from Dabi. They were filled with photos, personal things that looked like they'd come from a family album, news reports that must have been taken down as they were put up, and things about Toya that he hadn't even found in Netsu's restricted files. There were photos of the Todoroki family. There were some where they actually looked happy. One where Rei was standing in a park with all four of the Todoroki children. A 12-year-old Toya stood with a young Shoto riding on his shoulders. Natsuo and Fuyumi stood in front of Rei, her hands on both of their shoulders. Most of the photos were just of the kids and Rei. There was one with all of them in Christmas hats, and Dever wasn't there. Those were the good ones. They mainly showed the kids and Rei having fun, or being a family when Endeavor wasn't. The rest of the photos were progressively worse. There was one of Toya without a shirt, which showed his arms and chest wrapped in bandages on. In that photo he looked about 8 or 9. There was one of him screaming on the ground as blue fire licked at his arm. Endeavor stood in the background with his arms crossed, an unimpressed look on his face. The final photo was dark. It showed us a wrecked room, charred and ruined. There were still a few fires burning, both blue and red. Tagged with the photo was a news report about Toya's death. Izuku had seen that one before. It was more of a memorial report and addressed the death as a tragic accident and brushed over any details. He'd paused reading through the mound of things he'd been sent to finish his homework. School was still important, even more so with the finals approaching, before beginning the job of sifting through the articles and photos and little notes that Dabi had left him on certain links to pick out the ones that he could use for the video. When he'd found the ones he wanted to use, he'd chosen not to use the most of the family ones. They seemed private. He'd spent 2 hours filming clips and editing them into the video, along with adding more of the pictures where they were needed. He'd watched it through twice before deciding it was done. Taking a break, he'd decided to go and get himself some dinner. Inko was working late that day and wouldn't be back for a while. She'd texted him and told him to have his own dinner, so he'd sat down and put on a random hero documentary that was playing on the television while he ate leftovers, not being bothered to actually make anything. Izuku was only half listening to the annoyingly energetic host recount a villain attack that Edshot had handled a few days before, as he continued to edit the video on his laptop, which he'd retrieved from his room. It was almost completely finished on his end. It was starting to get tiring, watching the same video over and over again. But this had to be perfect. Though after not finding any errors, after the 6th time of watching through, he'd decided it was time to put it to Shinso, who would source everything, write the video description, and further edit the video to catch anything Izuku missed. After that, they'd send it to the other two for final editing, in case the Todoroki wanted anything taken out or Dabi had anything extra they could add, and then it would finally be ready for posting. Maybe he should warn his Discord server about this. Izuku had considered the possible outcomes of this. He knew that his channel and server being completely shut down by Endeavor's legal team was a very real possibility. He also knew that that wouldn't stop the video from being shared around everywhere. That was definitely the worst case scenario. Best case was that only the video was taken down and that it stayed up long enough to be shared around, just in case something happened. It didn't take long to set up a backup Discord account, which he shared with his admins. He'd have to leave the server members a more cryptic message so that he wouldn't be figured out straight away. Was he overthinking this? Going around saving anything he deemed important from the Discord server. He kept copies of all his videos anyway, so no need to worry about that task. He'd gone through channels and pins to locate anything he deemed worthy of saving, just in case. Shinzo had gotten back to them an hour and a half later, sending a private link to the video back in their chat. To Izuku, it looked perfect, and they'd gotten to go ahead from the other two within half an hour, and Izuku could finally finish preparing for it to go live. At everyone, to the Ryoku Discord server. I am about to publish a video that is very likely to be taken down. Due to the nature of this video, there is a possibility that my channel and this server could also be taken down. If that's the case, you can message my admins to find me again. I will be up and running as soon as possible. This video contains graphic descriptions and photos of injuries, mentions and descriptions of abuse and neglect, along with other triggering topics. If these make you uncomfortable, I suggest not watching. If you can, please share this video and get the message out. It's very important to me and a few friends that this message is addressed and shared. Please DM me at insomniagobrr, at your local conspiracy theorist, and at nobody if you want to be sent a downloadable link to the video so you can save it before it gets taken down. Thanks to everyone in advance. I know you're all amazing people. Ryoku. Izuku had sent that message both in Discord and a similar one on the community tab on his channel. Waited around 5 minutes. He'd planned to wait more, but his anxiety was getting to him, and then hit post on the video. Now all he had to do was to wait for the nature to take its course. Safe to say, he wouldn't be sleeping tonight. When Momoyao Yorozu woke up on Tuesday morning, she hadn't quite expected the level of pure chaos that the day would be filled with. The morning had been perfectly normal. She'd been woken up by one of the maids, served breakfast with her golden leaf imperial tea, imported from overseas, and gotten ready for the day of school as she usually did. She'd arrived at school 15 minutes early. She had to set a good example as a vice representative after all. Another thing that came with being a vice representative was how well she knew her class. She'd made sure to observe everyone. She knew how they acted, the ins and outs of their personalities, so that she could tell when something was up, when her help was needed. It definitely didn't go unnoticed how weird not only her class, but everyone in the school was acting that morning. Usually, where there were only a few people milling about in corridors or outside, half the school seemed to be gathered, crowding around each other in large groups. After minutes of observation, it seemed everyone was looking at something on other people's phones. It seemed to be causing quite the uproar among students. Yo, Yogozu! Kaminari yelled upon seeing her in the doorway, rushing over with a look resembling panic on his face. Momo silently noted that it was strange for Kaminari to be here so early. He was usually one of the last to the class to arrive. Have you seen it? Do you have it? Please say you do! Momo stared at him for a second before she realized he was expecting an answer. I'm sorry. I don't know what you're talking about, was all she said, giving him an apologetic look as he let out an exaggerated sigh. Ryoku's video! He posted it yesterday while I was trying to study and I missed it! No one's here seen it either! I hoped someone would have it! Kaminari whined. It keeps being taken down everywhere, and I don't know who to ask for it. My apologies. Momo bowed her head politely, feeling bad that she couldn't help her classmate. I haven't seen it either. I wasn't even aware he posted it yesterday. I must have been too busy studying. Kaminari sighed and nodded before pouncing on the next person to arrive at the door. A startled Zero. Momo took the opportunity to head to her seat. Do you know what Kaminari's on about? Chiro asked her, appearing at her side and sitting in Todoroki's chair. He wasn't here yet. I think so, Momo hummed. According to him, Ryoku's posted a video yesterday that got taken down. I think it's what everyone's talking about. No one seems to have seen it, though. He's trying to find it. Oh, Chiro nodded before snorting. Glad he explained it properly to you. He just came at me flailing when I got in here. I had no idea what he was saying. I wonder what the video is about, though. None of his videos have been taken down before, right? Not that I know of. Definitely nothing that caused a stir like that, at least. Momo replied, taking a textbook out of her bag in preparation for homeroom, before a cheer from Kaminari interrupted their conversation. Both girls looked up to see the blonde standing next to a dazed Todoroki. Todoroki has the video, guys! Kaminari announced. Are you gonna show us, dude? Later, Todoroki said, barely audible over the yells. Homeroom is about to start. There was a wave of sighs and ahs from the rest of the class, who had mostly assembled by now. Surprisingly, Ida wasn't here yet, which was strange. Guys, the video is over 20 minutes long. A new voice, Midoriya. He'd appeared behind Todoroki, accompanied by Shinzo. We don't have time to watch it now. Aizawa was about to arrive. The door slammed open. Only a second later, and Ida appeared, disheveled and out of breath. He took only a second to glance at Todoroki's way before announcing loudly that homeroom was about to start and that everyone needed to get themselves organized. The class scrambled for their seats, and Chiro sent Momo a smile, returned happily with a wave, before leaving Todoroki's seat to make her way to her own desk. Class started not even a minute later, and it wasn't until the bell rang for lunch that the video had a chance to resurface in the general chatter. In fact, it was roughly dumped on them as Midoriya announced that anyone who wanted to watch should stay behind. He'd lead the majority of the class. Momo noted that Ida, Todoroki and a few others stayed behind to a secluded patch of grass outside of the school building and booted up his laptop. Just a warning, the video contains sensitive topics that specifically relate to one of our classmates. If I see anyone using any information in this video to purposefully upset him, I will not hesitate to punt you out of the solar system," Midoriya said firmly, effortlessly stunning everyone into silence. He glared at the crowd. Momo really wasn't used to seeing this side of him. It was as if he was an entirely different person, until each and every one of them gave a nod of confirmation. And then he pressed play. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and our non-binary folks. Today, just a little spicy treat. A one chapter of Ryoku. Let's see what happens next. Love y'all and take care of yourself. Be the little gremlins that you are. But don't forget to at least get some little hydration. Even if it's